Hello and welcome back to another episode of the It's Not Orange podcast. We can celebrate back-to-back wins and back-to-back away wins as Blackpool slay Huddersfield 2-0 away from home, making it 2 away wins in a row. We couldn't say that much last year, could we, Kurt?
No, definitely not. Two new things for me tonight. A sort of live audience whilst recording this, so I'll have to watch my language and we can not edit anything out. And the other thing is back-to-back wins and looking really, really comfortable and good doing it. So, yeah, a really good Tuesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll dissect obviously everything within the game, but get your comments in about how you're feeling. Of course, it's we're fresh off full-time whistle just going, and Blackpool obviously looking very comfortable in their victory. Joining me as well this evening is Martin. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, unbelievable. What a 3 days that is to be a Blackpool fan. Well, that's something we never do, is it? We never go and get 6 points in big games back to back like that. You know, I'd have been happy with 3 or 4, but 6, absolutely buzzing. So happy, and just really nice to see a team that we can all be proud of at the moment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's just another thing, and is it we've restored pride within ourselves as well. I think what Steve Bruce and the coaching staff has brought to us is the fact that we're now watching our club excited to watch Blackpool again, and not it being a chore, like many Blackpool fans said a lot last season, of course. But we'll get straight into things then, Kurt, with the lineup. Of course, one change, of course, because Hubby obviously was feeling the ill effects of Saturday, and we have a ready-made replacement in Coulson, who was excellent tonight.
Yeah. I think I didn't think we'd ever see James Husband sort of dropped or anything like that, but I kind of hoped that we'd get to see Coulson there, because I think he adds a bit of a different dynamic, a bit more of a, going forward. We saw that throughout the evening. So I was a little bit worried about tonight. Before the game, we'd had a lot of injuries, a lot of effort put into the game on Saturday, and I thought this comes at the wrong time. I'd rather we went straight to Burton, but obviously I was completely wrong. So yeah, lineup, Ballon and Joseph carrying on. I thought Morgan was excellent, and he managed to get even more minutes in the tank. So overall, I'm shocked we saw Gabriel. I thought Gabriel was really out of it on Saturday in terms of, I thought he was injured, and that might have been long term. So yeah, great to see sort of Casey or Fire Gabriel carry on and continue the good form.
Martin, were you concerned about the fact we only made one change? I know we don't have a tremendous amount off the bench, but at the same time, we put a lot into Saturday, and it was an impressive victory, before the match, so to speak. I was certainly surprised just to see Coulson come in.
Yeah. I agree with Kurt. Obviously, look, in an ideal world, as much as Hubby's done great last few weeks, and he scored the other week against Exeter to win us the game. If you were to pick a Blackpool 11, and you would pick Coulson at left back ahead of him, I think. So yeah, I mean, Saturday took a lot out of him. You could see, that was obvious after the game on Saturday. Big, very grueling, 50, 60 minutes left of injury time. Knows what he's doing. He's got a really good team behind him, and clearly we're ready to go. And if we were worried about it, we shouldn't have been, because you wouldn't have known they played Saturday in that first half, would you? You would have thought that he'd made 11 changes and they're all fresh and ready to go. So it just says a lot for the fitness levels and just the sheer, I think, determination and the professionalism, I think, of the setup that we now have in just 3 weeks. We've managed to build this sort of just it looks like a team of winners at the moment. So we should never have had any worries about tonight, really.
No, maybe not. And I wasn't necessarily worried about potentially the performance or the team, so to speak, but just how much football they've played in recent weeks, of course. But I was certainly surprised by the start. Just want to start by saying good evening to Big Dog Walker. 3 out of 3. Brilliant start for Steve Bruce. CJ, brilliant. And Coulson solid left back. Yeah, completely agree. Evening, Tony. Different team, unbelievable. Yeah, we'll get into that. But we certainly look a side hungry to win football matches. Correct. Mike Bassett, 4-4-2. Damien has said this is starting to get interesting. We have a team and coaching staff to be proud of. Absolutely. Nick Bell, Husband should be worried about getting his place back. The back four, excellent tonight. Yeah, it's a difficult one, club captain and all that, but I think we showed different levels tonight in that back four, and obviously a clean sheet will certainly help Coulson's place in the team. Evening, Mike. Evening, SW11. Thoughts on Rob Apter's football rating? Definitely better than 6.3. I think he played tremendous tonight, but we'll get into things. Bisons, we look very tired in the last 20. Completely agree, but you expect that after Saturday. To Andrew Bay, made up of that at the start of the season. No way did I think we could beat Charlton Huddersfield away. Amazing. What a playing their player in their actual position does to a team. Yeah, completely agree. It's certainly going to have a decent impact into Saturday, isn't it, Kurt? But I wanted to start off by talking about how composed we were early doors. I said in the podcast chat we were shaky in a sense of I think we let them in a couple of times early doors, just within the box, and they got a couple of early corners. But you were impressed with how we started the game and how well we controlled the ball.
Yeah, I think the first 20 minutes were spot on for an away performance. I think we had 70% possession and we're controlling. I know we didn't have any super clear-cut chances, but you'd never have thought we were the away team. We looked like a home team all day, and we looked like a team that just got relegated from the Championship, and we're looking to go straight back up. And that's exactly what you want from, a away performance. Without scoring, it's about as good as it can get. So I just think with Morgan and Evans in midfield, they seem to really complement each other, and it makes watching us just so enjoyable. I was there on Saturday, similar way with Morgan. Obviously, he's just coming back. We got to look after him again. But this team is under Keogh to start off with, and now under Bruce has got this sense of confidence, and you can see it building, and you can see they're a bit more composed, and they're not worried about what's going to be thrown at them. Actually, it's about what we can do and what we can stamp our authority on the game, and you can get a grip of it, and that's what we did early doors. So, really, really good stuff.
And Martin, just to add to what Kurt said, again, I completely agree. I think we've gone from a manager who, with all due respect, Bruce has done the same, but in a slightly different manner in his pre and post match press conferences, and Bruce has always alluded to the fact that Huddersfield and Charlton are both good sides, and he's got respect for the managers, obviously. But he's also said, but if we play the way we play, they're going to be worried as well. And not once did we get that from the previous manager. And you can kind of tell he's told them to go and stamp the authority early doors, because the way we kept the ball in and around the back just looks really professional. And at times, I'm not saying we completely dominated the ball in the second half, of course, but at times in that first half, we were moving that ball like we were in the top two, and we've played half a season already. Because although Huddersfield, I personally believe, let me down in terms of the way I thought they'll play, we did everything right and kept them at arm's length to enable us to decide who's going to dictate the play.
Yeah, we did, and you're right about picking up on that comment from Bruce. He's a decent guy, and he gives the opposition credit, and then says quite rightly, that we will give them a problem. And I think it's just mentality. I think it comes down to mentality. It's how respect the opposition, don't respect them too much, and take your game to them. And you know what? I watched a few Huddersfield sort of things on YouTube and comments about how they played against Northampton. And I actually thought they wouldn't play as badly as that, but it seems like they've chucked another one into me, because they looked confidence-wise really fragile. And they actually reminded me of us to critically play that way, because they were there for the taking, and the formation just didn't seem to suit them, and it was bizarre, really. I was expecting more from them simply because I thought there'd be a reaction, but we just didn't let them play. We didn't let them play, and our pressing was relentless, and there was so much space behind their wing backs to get in, especially with CJ on that side. It was easy. At times I thought we looked like a championship team tonight in terms of the way that we played, but the opposition were, I mean, let's face it, some of the defending that they kind of displayed was pretty terrible. If that was us, if that was the reverse and that was us playing like that, it would have been called a disgusting performance, wouldn't it? So I have to look at two sides of the coin, but I did a lot of this because we just didn't them get any kind of rhythm. We were at it from the start, and with those front two or front four, really, that's what we're good at now, is literally being a massive pain in the backside for defenders, with the pace and the enthusiasm and just the relentless work rate of that front four, if you like, is just superb. So just put a marker down and we, the second half was a bit of a non-entity, but it doesn't matter, does it? First half was top stuff again, so just really pleased.
Yeah, Kurt, we want to talk about the Hamilton chance early doors, I suppose the warning signs for their defence and for Hamilton's evening, especially in that first half, came early doors around about the 8th minute, where it was put in behind. And please please don't think I'm being critical because I watch my tongue. But CJ being CJ kind of got caught in between the football intelligence part of how he's shown over the last sort of season or so, and he didn't know whether to sort of shoot or cross it, because initially I thought the cross was the better option, but there was 3 men coming across probably to block Joseph at the back post. He eventually went for a cross/shot, and I think he kind of lost his balance a little bit and therefore didn't follow it in. You potentially thought he could have done a little better with his first opportunity.
Yeah, I think if that had come after he scored, I think he'd have taken a shot and just been a bit more selfish. He was always trying to make sure that it went in as such. But I think the promising thing, and one of my problems with CJ is that he's been the sole outlet for us in an attacking shape, under Critchley, in that he was the only person that could do anything, and he just isn't that sort of player. He needs other players to make space for him, so there is a ball in behind, that he can run onto on his stronger foot. So I think that, that CJ, we're going to have moments like that. I've been critical of him last season, but ultimately, I think that was probably his best half of football for Blackpool Football Club. I think he was really quick, strong. Made some really great runs. Morgan found him, and then obviously later on he scored. But I think what we need out of CJ is a bit more confidence in his play. So a bit more confidence when he's got the ball, be a bit more selfish. When he does actually hit the ball, it stays hit sometimes. He can connect with it. So he just needs to be a little bit more selfish in those positions, I reckon.
Yeah, and whilst we recap this game, and we'll sort of mention Charlton a bit later on, but he had his moments at Charlton as well in behind the defence. And I think, as we've said before, Martin, that when he's playing at wing back, you might as well not have him in the side. And that was an us to Critchley thing, not an us to CJ thing. But he did lack severe intelligence last campaign and seasons gone by. But I've kind of got to take back those things that I've said. And whilst there's things he's got to work on in his game, and this doesn't make him our best player of the season, you've got to admit that once Bruce has come in, his confidence has risen, his stock has then risen. He's kept his place in the team really well. Whilst there's others challenging for it, and he's paying the dividends, isn't he? Because he looks a real asset. And I'll come on to Joseph's goal in a second, but him just being played in his natural position, have a bit of trust and probably a bit of love from Bruce as well, has enabled him to be a completely different player to what we've seen in the last sort of 50 games or so.
He is what he is. He could be able to throw his pace, and we know that the quality isn't always there. But I think Bruce has just looked at it again. I think it's part of the simplifying the squad and simplifying the way we play. And I think he's just thought, you know what, lads, he might not be. He's probably said to Steve Agnew and Keogh and Dobbs, this guy isn't exactly, he's not technically gifted, but he's a weapon that we need to use because we haven't really got anybody who's quite as quick as him. And he should be a menace to fullbacks. Whether he delivers the end product or not is obviously always going to be up for debate. And a lot of the time he won't. But he was superb. He was superb when he needed to be. And that initial run, that first run that he made, was an absolute warning shot. And they didn't heat it because he got in a couple of times and just he's just raw pace, isn't he? He's raw pace. There isn't an awful lot of football intelligence there, but completely taken away from that wing back role now, thank God, and should never ever play there again because it doesn't suit him. And it was probably halfway to destroying the lad's career playing him there, if we're being totally honest. And we ended up having not too much love for him, whilst always having that understanding his top position. But now he's back to where he should be with not too many responsibilities, and he's starting to deliver a bit more, which is great. It's absolutely great. We want them all to do well, and he's. I like him, CJ, but obviously I'd gone off him massively because he'd been played in the wrong position, and I thought he probably didn't have a future here, but he has.
Yeah, he deserves a hell of a lot more credit than what we've been giving him. And if he continues in this trajectory, he's going to outperform his stats from the last few seasons at Blackpool because, quite frankly, he hasn't delivered with us in terms of numbers. But already this season, top goal scorer, I think now, isn't it, in all competitions? I know we've got to include the cup in that as well, but it's good to see wingers getting on the score sheet nonetheless, and combine them well with strikers as well. Just going through some comments in the chat. So after Charlton, this was going to be a tough on the legs, but first half especially, we looked decent and fresh. Yeah, absolutely. Bison's raises a good point. One thing that stood out was the pitch being saturated. It was farcical. Everyone was slipping, wasn't they? And we didn't know whether they were slipping or injured or wasting time. I really don't know, but it was bad, and it was the home side's choice to do that, and actually I think it affected them more than it impacted us. So Mike said some are calling for Duff's head after that. 2 really bad performances in a row, and that's just how football works now. And I think I expected a lot more from a Duff side, and I think Barnsley and him worked really well, but he hasn't continued sort of with that trajectory since he left Barnsley. But he's got a big job on his hands when they were expecting promotion. Nick has said Evans is a real leader tonight. Yeah, keep him fit, and we've got ourselves a real League One cheat code. I think Kurt, you said weeks ago, didn't you, manage those minutes, manage those times for these important players, and he's had to really step up these last few games with Norburn being out as well. But he is our metronome in that midfield, and I think he's ridiculous in terms of being a battler as well. I think he does so much work within that midfield as well than just pass the ball about like we're complimenting on. And him and Morgan worked excellently well, which we'll come on to in a minute. Sticking with CJ then, Kurt, I want to talk about Joseph's goal. One thing CJ does really well, and we do criticise his intelligence, but as the ball drops to him, he waits for the bounce and he waits for their player to arrive, and he uses his body to shield him away, doesn't he? He done that superbly well, and he allowed the player to hit the floor for him to run into space and to look up first and foremost and hit literally the most perfect cross he could have hoped for, enabled Joseph to get one of his easiest goals of his career. But it was fantastic to see Joseph score, of course. We've said it before on the pod, haven't we? We really want him to have a breakout season and have a full season. He worked really well with Rhodes, and now him and Ballard have got this natural partnership, which is flourishing really well. Ballard probably needs to add a couple of goals for his own confidence, but he's doing so much work with Joseph to make us impactful up front. But it was great to see him in that position first and foremost, because there'll be times where we wouldn't have had that away from home before. But, kudos has to go to CJ once again and the striker for being there.
Yeah, I think CJ on the left can whip a ball in, can't he? And when he was playing on the right, he was cutting back, putting crosses in, but because he was losing all momentum, it kind of then became this nothing ball into the box, almost floaty as such. So, running onto his left, on his favoured foot, and he can whip it across. That's what we need to see more of. And we've got 2 strikers in the box that want to be in the box. I know it sounds silly, but they're making runs, they're getting in good positions. Joseph seems to be here, there, and everywhere. Ballard is here, there, and everywhere. I think it's going to come for Ballard. I can almost guarantee it. I wouldn't be shocked to see him score at the weekend. But Joseph is. You've watched Joseph last season. I've always felt there's a player there. I've always felt it. I've been arguing with people on the forum about him, saying, just wait. Just wait. Him and Ballard didn't give them a second, and it kind of shows in the second half when Ballard's taken off. So same against Charlton and same against, other times when those 2 partnerships broken up, it kind of, loses the momentum as such. So, they're both really vital for us. Hopefully they stay injury free. Ballard again in the wars. But it's really exciting to watch 2 really young, hungry strikers. They're just after it, aren't they? Pests, such a pain in the arse. Right on the centre backs all the time. How many balls have they intercepted? I'd love to see stats for that. How Joseph is running in the 90th minute sprinting back. You're always going to get the fans on side doing that, let alone scoring. But it's still in the 90th minute having going to Charlton. Like we love that stuff, don't we? And I thought he was absolutely magnificent again for the 3rd or 4th game running.
It's not only that, though. You've alluded to his energy and his fitness. We saw him work on it pre-season, didn't we, Martin, with him on Instagram and other social media platforms, just sort of putting videos out of him a couple of weeks after the season's finishes, him working on his shooting and his fitness. And I think he craved that after being out for so long last campaign. And as Kurt said, if we can keep him injury-free, if he adds more goals to his game and he continues the same vein of form, you have to give credit to the Blackpool board, because when we sold Yates, we wondered, where would that Yates replacement come? And although it wasn't a part of the deal, and inverted quotation marks for the ones that listen on audio, it was, a shrewd signing, and at the end of the day, if he continues in the same vein of form and he's got these good players around him, he's flourishing from that, isn't he?
He is. And, Critchley obviously, persuaded Sadler to part with the money for him, but then he had that bad injury spell. But Critchley didn't get the best out of him, did he? for whatever reason, probably a mixture of a lack of pre-season, but also just couldn't get a tune out of him. And then when there was all this talk of him maybe going to Wigan in the summer, part of me thought, well, maybe this is going to be one of those signings that doesn't work out. But thank God that didn't happen, because he just seems to be one of those players that's delighted that there's been a change of manager, because he's just looks a different player. I mean, if you watch it tonight, you'd be thinking, this lad can play higher, and I don't want to tempt fate. But if he carries on playing like that, he's going to be one of those players that's difficult to keep hold of. Somebody will win with big money for him because of his size, his pace. People like that are rare. Bruce said it the other day. He said it's very rare these guys want to. But we've got two strikers at the moment who want to run in behind and do all that hard work. Most strikers don't want that anymore, do they? Your average striker kind of wants it into feet, whatever. Doesn't want to do those runs. And like Kurt said, he's still doing it in the 90th minute. That's a really rare commodity. So we are blessed with two of them, but he in particular is showing all the attributes of being a top player for us. And he carries on like that, he'd be looking at setting a target of at least 15 to 20 with other people chipping in. So just great. I'm just glad we as a club sort of didn't give up on him. But I think with the investment that we're supposed to have made in him, we're probably always going to give him a chance to realise his form and his potential. But he's doing now, and he's just my favourite type of strikers to see someone playing like that. I love people. He's like a sort of bigger version of like Keegan Parker was like that when he just an absolute. But this guy stay on side, so it's all right. It's good.
Absolutely. Cecil's Bromley said, excellent win, good all-round performance. I think we can put the question, is it the players or is it Critch? Yeah, I think we're not going to revisit the Critch thing, but yeah, of course, it's a revitalised formation and shape, isn't it? Good evening, Tim. Hope you're well. Fantastic first half. Happy car on the way home. Yeah, absolutely. Safe travels back, buddy. Tangerine Babe again. Joseph has been unreal since Bruce came in. I'd love to know what Bruce said to him to get him these performances out of him. Play up front in a 4-4-2, maybe. Joseph, best striker, passion and skill set since Yates. Yeah, absolutely. Again, Cecil's Brummy with a comment. Is it clear now why we paid so much for Joseph? Class player, absolutely flourishing. Mike, good evening, buddy. KJ was excellent. It does so much running for the team. Yeah, absolutely. I think not only just running there, there's players out there who run a lot and don't produce anything, but Joseph is certainly given in both elements as well. Tony said Joseph reminds me of Jerry Yates. The way he presses his work rate is becoming very similar. Absolutely. We missed that character, certainly, and we're starting to get that back. Finally, looking like the recruitment is paying off. After a few misses, Joseph and Bellard could easily end up in double figures this season. Absolutely. Bison said, for every player that Critchley developed, he almost destroyed the same number, Joseph being one. Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to see, as we've said already, the better side of Joseph, and that certainly hopefully continues. One thing I will say, though, Kurt, I'll ask you this question. As much as we criticised Critchley, and I'm not saying it's all Critchley's recruitment, but this team is obviously made up of signings that Bruce didn't make, apart from Afire coming in. I don't know when Afire came in. Did he come under Bruce? No. No, he didn't come under Bruce either. So, yeah, all these signings have come under sort of Critchley's remit, but obviously the Blackpool Downs, etc., doing the recruitment. Critch has obviously commented a lot on the likes of Evans, Joseph, and players at the back, obviously Casey, etc. Obviously, he's got an eye for talent in terms of developing players and players that make a difference, but he just never found that formation or the system or really the buy-in for us to be the best he can be the second time round, did he?
No. Just going back to Tim Fielding, I saw Tim on Saturday, and he was a bit ropey with his legs. I'm not sure if that was the alcohol or the Thames boat trip. I'm sure he'll be able to tell us in the chat. It was good to see Tim in there. No, I mean, I look at this team now, and I look at it from the goalkeeper, who I think is growing into it. I know he made a mistake at the weekend, but he also saved an almost guaranteed goal with a worldie of a save. So I kind of let him chalk them both off, and I think he's dominant in the box. I mean, he seems to be in the right position all the time. If there's a ball over the top, he's got it. You look at the back four, it's solid. Then everything seems to be kept simple with this shape. They all seem to know what they're doing, know where to be. There's no overcomplication of things. Pass the ball in this scenario, pass the ball in this scenario. Do you know what? We pass it around the back, bang, gone. It's gone upfield, or we're going to chip the press and go out to Gabriel or Coulson. That's it. No complication. There's no. I know we retained the ball, but that was just poorly because we were just better than them. We were just a better footballing team than them today, and better footballing team than Charlton. And there's more to come out of this team. There's way more to come. If we stay relatively injury free, we've got Baggett to come back. We've got Norburn to come back in the mix. We've got Andy Lyons to come back. We've got players to build up their fitness. Embleton to build up fitness. So you look at this team, look at the squad, and go, actually, crikey, if we got a really good team on our hands, and it's difficult not to get carried away, and because we've not had 3 wins in a row, and we've definitely not had 2 very, very good away performances like we have. But why not? Let's just get carried away and enjoy it. I've got an 8-hour train, round trip train. I'm buzzing for it on Saturday. I cannot wait to get up there. So that's what we wanted out of this football club, wasn't it? When Simon took over, this is what we wanted out of football. To enjoy going. That's the whole point of it, is have a go, and that's what this team, this formation, that's what we've been doing the last few games. So it's just nights like tonight. I'm sure the guys that are there will be absolutely buzzing, and Bloomfield Road on Saturday is going to be. I know we're playing Burton, they might not bring much, but there'll certainly be an atmosphere in there. It's going to be great.
Wasn't it a famous Kurt that said, "Don't get too high with highs and don't get too low with low"?
Just get high with the highs now. I think head up of being level-headed. I watched Birmingham Wrexham the other night, and I watched Blackburn and Preston, and I thought that Birmingham looked better than both of those sides, and I think we tonight look better than both those sides. And I don't really care if they ever came in this chat or said anything, but that was some dire football that I saw between those two sides, and I'll take what I've watched tonight and Saturday and the previous games over anything that those two have produced so far. The fact we beat Blackburn, we're performing at a level which looks, at the minute, which I would say is top 4, but that has to maintain. You have to dispatch your teams like Burton's that will come and sit back potentially in the other team. So, Saturday's another test, isn't it? And I'm sure Spruce will be exactly saying it's the next test. But let's get excited about it and get the North rocking. Last season was just, the North just wasn't anywhere near it, was it? And can you blame them with what was put on show? You can back this. You can back these lads, playing like this and putting this level of effort in 100%.
And if there is a game that doesn't go our way, or if Huddersfield got a goal late on, you kind of, we'll forgive them, but previously we wouldn't, because their heads would drop. The fact we're taking the impetus into games now is something so refreshing. The fact we're taking the lead into games, we're scoring a second goal. It just feels like a football fan should feel, I suppose. And there will be some rough times. I'm sure Steve Bruce will come under criticisms, but if he continues to do the basics well, and the coach and staff work with the way they are working, then this could be a real recipe, as we've said, for success. And we've just got to ride out the hard times as well as the good times, and we know we can do that as Blackpool fans. But Martin, we complimented. Oh, that's the wrong tab. And we complimented Ballard earlier, of course, for the work he's doing in between defences and dropping back and winning the ball back, etc. Working relentlessly. Obviously, he's taken a few knocks in both games, or in 3 games now. Even at Cambridge, he was being knocked about. He's certainly learning, obviously, a lot playing football. But he landed on his arm quite funnily, didn't he? But he still wanted to continue. And the fact he got subbed off after 53 minutes enabled him to have a good rest, and hopefully he'll be ready on Saturday. But just moving backwards, CJ's goal, a superb finish. We complimented the assist for Joseph's goal with CJ, but this assist was brilliant. And it's nice to see a striker have the weight of pass to put in, a winger cutting into the box. Again, something we didn't think we'd ever see last season. That sort of transition football, winning it back, playing that through ball to him, eventually getting it kind of stuck around his feet, but he just kind of waited for the ball to just land in front of him, and he slams it home. There was no real finesse to it, was it? It was just hit the ball as hard as you can, low and hard, and Nichols didn't get any sort of hope on it. And we ended injury time with going 2-0 up. We moaned about injury time on Saturday. We certainly weren't moaning about it in the first half today.
No, because I was sat here going, "Oh, for God's sake, referee, blow the whistle." And then it got to 5 minutes, blow the whistle, and then he carried on. And I thought, "Oh, go on then." And then thank God he didn't. Thank God he did find an extra few seconds from somewhere. But I mean, again, if that goal's in reverse and we concede that goal, all we're doing is cursing the defending, because it was absolutely dreadful. But as we're Blackpool fans and it's our goal, we just need to praise that through. But it's a bit slow motion, wasn't it? The through ball was great, and then CJ kind of thinks the chance has gone, and then he looks at the defender and kind of realises he's balls it, and then just fires it in the net. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, CJ Hamilton is not a clean striker of the football, but then Brett Ormrod wasn't, and it lasted his career, so it doesn't matter, does it? But just love the timing of it. The timing of it could not be better. And it also absolutely destroys their crowd, doesn't it, as well? There's no 2-0 at home is a big ask, even with the players that they're supposed to have and the manager they've got. 2-0 is so flat after what happened to them on Saturday. So just sometimes it's just meant to be, isn't it? Sometimes everything just aligns and you get that maybe a little bit of fortune. But I think 2-0 was the right scoreline at halftime. I didn't Flores did it at all. We were the dominant side, and it's just brilliant. I'm pleased for CJ, but yeah, the through ball's great, but the defending is absolutely atrocious for that goal. Let's get it right, but who cares?
Another goal for CJ, Kurt. That was one against Exeter, obviously another one tonight, and some assists, 2 in the cup as well. And like I said, he's on the trajectory to outperform his few seasons, with Blackpool Football Club. And if he continues in the same belief, like you say, it's a fantastic option to have, isn't it? Anything you want to say about the goal that we haven't said already?
Hoggy's having a dig at you because he didn't use his full title of Republic of Ireland International, international winger. We might have to call off Bristol Rovers.
Made 2 comments in the live pods, and they're the only 2 comments. He's copied and pasted.
Is he cut and pasting? Yeah. It sounds like Hoggy, that. We might have to call off Bristol Rovers if that's international weekend, and CJ gets called up, and a couple of others get called up. Yeah, look, the problem was we didn't have outlets across the pitch that could do something and create something. We call Rob Apter is now in the team. I think his rating on that thing was miles off it. He played okay. He did okay. He's a threat. He's a menace. Ballard can create things. As for the through ball, Morgan's got an eye for a pass. Lee Evans, very very sexy man, has an eye for a pass as well and a cross on him. So there's multiple outlets there, isn't there? You had Coulson in there and Gabriel as well. And actually, suddenly there's a bit of creativity everywhere and a bit of license everywhere. So CJ doesn't have to think about, well, if I'm playing right wing back, where should I sit? It's get ball, run. I do the road runner thing every time he gets the ball. It's just meet, off you go, run, head down, keep going. If you get near it's cross or shoot. Very simple. So, look, just need consistency out of him. CJ has been with us. I've always thought he's very stop and start. We've had one good game in 7 or 8. But they've all got an opportunity now to just crack on with it and start getting at teams, and that's the sort of football you want to see from him, isn't it? Head down, cross, shoot, happy days.
Completely agree, Martin. It's been a couple of away games now. This is the first half statistics. I love a stat, but just how refreshing is it to have, despite only 3 on target, 7 shots away from home? What was it, 5 or 6 games last campaign, especially away from home when we didn't even have 1 shot on target, in many first halves and in many 90 minutes as well. So again, it just backs up the idea that a change of system was always needed under our previous manager, but also Bruce is doing the basics right. He said, and someone said today, wasn't the basics of football, and they never change, and they haven't changed for all these years. Obviously, we admire great defenders for doing the basics right. We admire good attackers for finishing their chances, and we admire good midfielders for work rate and the vision. And we've kind of got a balance of all that, haven't we? But total shots 7-3 on target. Obviously, we had one big chance, which I assume was Joseph's or CJ's. Doesn't really matter. But accurate passes, as we've said, we're ticking the ball over nicely. 215, 79% success rate. We are becoming a team in possession which just look brilliant, like in terms of the basics. And how many times have we said this? Just change to 4-4-2 and please try something different. And no, we're not football managers. And yes, we're a podcast that criticised the system a lot last campaign, but it hasn't taken a lot to feel like we've got 15 new signings, has it?
No, I think those stats are great, aren't they? They're also, I would say, word economical, if you like. There's not too much wastefulness going on there. 3 shots on target and two goals, and I think that's all you need. You need your team to be effective, don't you? Realize what it's good at and be effective at it. And again, unfortunately, Critch Mark II just overcomplicated. League One football should be fairly simple, and if you've got quality, that the simplicity of what you set out should allow that quality to come through. Our quality was stifled, and it's And it becomes more and more obvious with every game just how much they were either overcoached or just completely incorrectly coached. Because, I mean, obviously you've got a man who's got 1,000 games as a manager under his belt, and he comes in and looks at it and goes, right, I am going to play the simple way because that's going to suit you boys. I'm not going to try and shoehorn you into a formation that doesn't work. He's laid out a simple plan, a simple formation. Use the quality, recognize the quality where it is, and there's your result. I mean, Kurt, you know, when we had the 4-4 against Cambridge, you know, Kurt was actually, we were all devastated, but Kurt wasn't down because he quite rightly said, but this team's just gone and scored 4 goals away from home, and it emphasises the quality we've got. And all right, you can't legislate for the silly defending, but the signs were there that under else could get a tune out of that team and get them scoring goals, and it's proven. We're actually, I mean, I'm sure most Blackpool fans know this, but if you didn't, we're the highest scorers in English football across all 4 divisions, aren't we? We were a month ago with 16, 17. We are now again with 23, 24, whatever it is. We're two clear of, I think, the nearest team to us. So although we've not won too many games until recently, we have scored goals. I know we've done it in 4s in like the Bristol Street and the Carabao Cup, but we're the top scorers in English football across all 4 leagues. So you can't be that without having some attacking intent. And those stats are great. They're just economical. Like I say, 3 shots, 2 goals. Fantastic. It is just, it tells us all what we thought was there anyway, but it's taken an experienced football man just to get hold of them and say, I'm going to play to your strengths and you guys can achieve. It's just really good. They are brilliant stats for an away game.
Yeah, and also to add to that, 6 set-piece goals, us and Wrexham are top of the EFL as well, which is, you know, unbelievable. I'm pretty annoyed we haven't scored a corner tonight, actually. But yeah, something to moan about. We hate P&E. Went to the game and missed both goals. I am so sorry. We've all been there. And tonight was probably not one to do that. But nonetheless, you got to enjoy the away end and a good victory, of course. NSF, they had an early injury sub, didn't they? A small sign, but it might be a good night for Paul. Victor Walker, Aidan Coulson, left back, offers something different than Hubby. First of all, he has great pace and a better off-the-ball movement going forward and in defence. Hard to argue. He's certainly an intelligent footballer. Played obviously with some big clubs as well, but he had something different. I think there is room for both those players, and it's good to have both options, as well as Ashworth obviously sitting in the background as well. Joined second top goal scorers in League One behind Wrexham at 14. Fantastic. Jord, I always wanted Bruce. My hacked. I think many of our accounts were hacked, and a lot of Blackpool fans are eating their words at the moment. There is a thing called new manager bounce, and I really hope that, you know, we continue that new manager bounce for many weeks to come. We've actually got back-to-back home games now with both Burton and Lincoln visiting Bloomfield Road, and there's a good chance for us to make it 5 wins in a row. It will be a tough test. Both of those play, you know, somewhat decent football. You know, Lincoln are a tricky side and have proven, you know, to be a very consistent side in this league as well. But there's absolutely no reason why we can't continue that momentum and get wins. Kurt, let's talk about the second half then. You've been quiet way too long, but we absorbed pressure really well. If we talked about second half stats, despite them having a lot of the ball, they only had 6 shots and 1 on target. We had 4 shots, none on target. They only had 2 shots in the first half, 1 on target. That's what, a total of 8 shots in the game, which again emphasises how good we were defensively. But what impressed you most about that second half?
Just the professional see the game out, wasn't it, really? You know, 2-0 up away from home, you have to come and score against us. It's as simple as that, isn't it, with football? Same as on Saturday. You know, they would never have scored in a million years had Tyra collected that ball, Charlton, on Saturday. And, you know, the same with Huddersfield. I was sorting the recycling out. I didn't really need to watch much of the second half. I didn't feel like we were going to concede. You know, whenever there was a corner, I was going out getting a drink. Not fussed. Kate, they were not scoring. Put it that way. You know, Katie and Tyra, absolutely no chance. Like colossal performances from those guys. You know, yeah. So I just feel that, you know, with this team, there's a bit of you know, maybe we'll talk about Charlton as well. There's a bit of that side to us that know when to cut the game, when to fall over a little bit too easily. You know, to really just see a team out, you know, and just get the game done. You know, the amount of times I've seen us struggle to getting back in games and teams have been really professional. Gable obviously helps with that. He'd probably do very well on the gymnastics team with the amount of rolls and tumbles that he manages to do, and get points for it. So look, just really professional. Some of those players lasted a bit longer. I think we made one sub, didn't we, pre-80? So some of those players actually got more minutes in their legs, which can only be a good thing. So I think the key word was just professionalism, and if you can do that away to Huddersfield, you can do that against most teams in this league.
Sorry, muted. I'll stay with you, Kurt, because Harry Tyra, and I think as I brought that up on the screen, Hoggy has said the same thing as well. Tyra deserves a lot of credit tonight. Bounced back from a mistake on Saturday, made 2 important saves. First tipped over the bar was fantastic. Yeah, and the header was like we said in the group, didn't we? It was a good save. I was more impressed by the second save because he managed to push it away from danger. It's a save, obviously, you should make from the cross. But he pushes it away so no one can get it on, and a rebound on it. So, but I was impressed massively with just how commanding this kid is, because every time a cross comes in, he's gathered it up. But what impresses me most, and why I think he's going to be a top end goalkeeper, Kurt, is the fact that when a through ball is made, he eliminates any chance of someone going through on goal with his starting position. He fought every through ball tonight. I know the pitch was really wet and the ball was moving fast, but every single time the ball came through to him, he was there to collect it. And despite that looking like a poor pass, for me, it's an intelligent goalkeeper who knows where the ball's coming and when he's coming and when he's going. As an example, that it just enabled you to go and have a cup of tea, or someone else to go and make a drink, because every time it was near our box, you kind of felt like this goalkeeper's been in sticks for 20, 30 years, and he's exactly what he's doing. And I was just really impressed by him. The saves were important. They stopped them creeping into the game by not letting in a goal. As Hoggy said, he made a mistake Saturday. Most young keepers could be affected by that. But if anything, he was one of the top players tonight, and he showed he was switched on at all points.
Yeah, I think Hoggy's point's really, really important, because that could have been really difficult to come back from, especially if Charlton had equalised. That would have been even worse for him, because he'd have known that was almost entirely his fault. I think he came towards the fans at the end of the Charlton game and sort of waved and kind of almost apologised for his mistake, but he didn't need to, because like I said, he wrote it off with a world-class save. His positioning is probably the most important thing about all of this, in that he knows that any through ball, it's either going to have to be really, really, pinpoint, or it's going to, use the surface and it's going to be onto him and he'll get rid of it. He knows that if someone's going to lob him, they're going to have to do a really good job, because he's a big unit. He's relatively good with his feet. He's plucking balls out of the air. Isn't it great watching someone of his age have that attitude? And we're watching him on the job and watching him grow in confidence and get better and better. I feel like he's definitely got a ceiling higher than this. Sometimes it's, with a keeper with a bit of an attitude, he's obviously been around Jordan Pickford, bit of an attitude, a bit of a swagger about him, a bit of celebrating in the away fans' face or home fans' face. I love a bit of that. I've seen other keepers do it to us continuously for years. So why not, good luck to the lad. He's got a great opportunity here to be number one for the season, to get a full season under his belt. Go back to Everton, full of confidence, hopefully with a promotion, and then maybe he comes back to us next year, in another league. But I've always wanted, Grimmy is fantastic for us. This isn't marking against Grimmy, but I've always felt that we've just had small goalkeepers. We had Maxwell, not commanding goalkeepers. Isn't it nice to have someone who's just a big unit, but he doesn't act like a big unit because he's fast and he's relatively nimble. He can shots, can get himself about. So look, it's just nice to have a good solid keeper, and hopefully it stays injury free, and it'd be good to see how he gets on.
Yeah, completely agree. He's just come in the comments. Professional performance, 2 smart stops from Tyra. Looks the real deal, but Fletcher looked half-assed. Hard to agree with the latter part of that comment, Martin. One of the substitutions, of course, in that second half, I would say an expected substitution, because Ballard obviously taken a few knocks. He was brought on to probably hold up the ball a little more than he did, but we also didn't really keep the ball well in midfield to enable him to hold the ball up. There was a few long balls to him, and he did have a spell in that second half which actually created a chance for Hamilton on the right wing, wasn't it? But he couldn't get the ball across.
Yeah.
Ended up winning a corner because his cross was blocked, but it was a poor cross. When he did get the ball, when it was near him, he kind of just had half efforts to get the ball back, but he didn't have time to grow into that game because it wasn't his way. But I also don't feel it was a bad substitution, because if Ballard couldn't press anymore, he was going to be a passenger on the pitch. So for me, it was the right substitution. It's easy to say in hindsight, but I didn't mind it at the time because Ballard got a 40-minute rest.
No, it's not a great sub if you're trying to chase the game. And the two strikers that are playing, every game now are kind of they're the current and the future, aren't they? You would hope this season, if everyone's fit, those two would play. It just suited the game tactically, and also you've got to remember that if we've got corners, people like him and Beasley can come back and head balls out, can't they? Which maybe, well, certainly Ballard wouldn't have been very good at if he was still on the pitch. So, but the Sheffield Wednesday game last week kind of showed it that, look, it's like every team, pretty much at every level, apart from top Premier League teams, you have maybe, if you've got 5 strikers, 2 of them will be amazing. The third one might be all right. One might be all right too, and the other one might be awful. The quality goes down as you delve into your squad a little bit, doesn't it? I suppose, but those substitutions had to happen. Ashley Fletcher will slow the game down for you, but it's probably exactly what we needed. You can't buzz around. You can't have 2 strikers buzzing around for all that time anyway. It's just impossible. The energy levels are, especially after Tuesday. But what it is a glimpse. The Sheffield Wednesday game is a glimpse that if those two say weren't available and you've got what you've got, we're going to have to play a very different game. It won't be as interesting or as exciting to watch. So we need to keep those fit. The alternative is a slower game, isn't it? And just doesn't really suit us. We've clearly got an identity very quickly, and we don't want to lose that by getting those guys injured and changing the way we play by bringing sort of target men in.
Also, it's a hypercritical comment because he came on with half an hour to go. He's just had 3 games out, and previous to him getting sent off, we were singing his praises, saying how well he worked in that system, how important he was in that 3 to give those other 2 balance. So for me, if he starts a game, not currently because I like what we've got going on, but if we have to change something, then he's certainly going to be one who's going to add something different when he gets a full 90 or at least a good 60 minutes under his belt. And I believe he'll thrive under Bruce, and Bruce has already alluded to the fact that he likes his style. Big Dog Walker has said Dobby coaching the forwards, Agnew coaching the midfield, and Keogh coaching the defenders, Banksy coaching the goalkeepers. Bruce oversees and coordinates the lot. So far, so good. Looking to be a good appointment, and we have to say, on evidence, it's not an easy job to do what Bruce has done. So I think it's a fair comment. Evening, pal. Finally got the Wi-Fi to play the stream. Evening, gents. Good evening, mate. Hope your dinner was nice as it looked. George, I will fight for Fletcher. He's vital. Yeah, the game dies when Peas and Rhodes comes on. Fletcher's the better option currently. I completely agree. Bison's with a nice comment about Peasley. Awful was too good for Peasley. One thing I will say about Peasley, he always pops up with a decent goal at important times. The pen miss versus Burton was sliding doors moment for Ash. He scores that. I think he has bagged another couple so far. Again, I think that's a fair comment. He was playing really well up until the penalty as well. So we will talk about Charlton and the rest of that second half in the last 10 minutes then, Kurt. Firstly, I want to quickly talk about just finishing off that second half. There was the moment when Anthony Evans, who, by the way, stunk the place out when he came on for them. He actually was helping us more than them with his bad tackles and his poor balls. That was the chance for them to maybe take the impetus on the game, wasn't it, Kurt? But as soon as they did that, we changed shape and we started to take control back of the game. We moved to a 4-2-3-1 and Joseph played out wide to support the defence, and it was one which absolutely killed the game. And you have to say again, probably made it a perfect managerial performance from Bruce.
It's that experience, isn't it? Been there, seen it, done it. I know what will happen, and we didn't see that. And I'm not going to mention his name.
We couldn't believe our eyes. We were like, we're changing positions.
when winning as well. That's
yeah,
when winning as well. Not just screaming for it when losing. When winning as well. So, he's been there, seen it, done it. He knows what works. When they're playing, quite tightly through midfield and dominating midfield, let's just add Embleton in there, cut the space off. They've got to go around us. They've got to get balls in the box, and so it just really changed things. I think George's right about Fletcher in that comment, and I don't agree with George on a lot of things, obviously, but no, he is right. I think if he scores that, he goes on, and and we don't really have a problem with him. And George has felt a bit like what Fletcher's felt a bit like what I felt like with and what I feel like with Carey. He's always like a nearly man. like nearly good enough, nearly there. But I'm just, there's more than enough time for Fletch to come round. There's definitely space for him in this team because he does link up play quite well, and I feel like he's quicker than both. I think he's quicker than both Beasley and Rhodes, but there's definitely a place for him in the team, and we did miss that in the other games. In that, it showed when Beasley and Rhodes came on, they didn't slow it down in a positive way. They slowed it down in a negative way in that they weren't keeping the ball, it wasn't sticking. Whereas with Fletcher, it does stick a little bit more. He does have a better touch, and I think both of them really, and he's a bit more physical than both of them, in terms of holding the ball up. So, but brilliant. That's what Bruce has been brought in for. That when things aren't going right, he changes it. He gets the players on his side. These players are definitely playing for him. They're definitely playing for him themselves, the shirt, and not necessarily they weren't playing for the shirt, but I don't think they enjoyed it. They look like they're really enjoying playing football. You can see it from the celebrations of the goals. So, let's just roll on to Saturday now. Really, really excited to go watch my football team play again, as opposed to it feeling like a bit of a chore.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin, we were going to talk about Charlton, but we spent 51 minutes talking about it tonight. So we're not. But what I will say is the first half kind of mirrored what happened tonight. Of course, the energy, the movement, the in possession, the attacking teams away from home. Like you said, it's refreshing to see. Again, a goal from a cross. I will say, Hadmi, who I was quite nervous of, scored an absolute worldie from our cross. What he's doing in the box, I don't know. And obviously, it's great to see Morgan come back and score against his former club and enjoy it, of course. Second half, resolute defending a bit like tonight, but we did it without conceding tonight. One thing I want to quickly talk about for a couple of minutes is, and sorry for any young children listening, but we are becoming, as Pal said, a team of dickheads. And Bruce has added that to our game. Gabriel was always good at this anyway, even under Critch, but get hit, foul. Evans picks the ball up in midfield, takes a little knock, falls over. When we're in defence, we kind of, can reset. We get a touch from a striker, we go down. But also, I don't genuinely believe it as bad as Charlton fans made out on Saturday. They were trying to overshadow their poor performance in that first half and how well we ripped them apart, which I think we did exceptionally well on Saturday, of course, in that first half. There was a lot of going down, but some of those were players being landed on. One of them was a head injury. Some of them were actually not all bad sort of injuries, but some of them were a bit of time wasting. And for years and years and years, we've been too nice. And it's been a delight to see a team that can mix it up. The style of passing is, I think about 60%, 70% short passing. But when we need to go long, we are really effective. We play the ball down the channels, etc. But also we're becoming a team which picks up those niggly fouls, makes good fouls as well at the same time. There's been those times, I think Hamilton did it tonight when they're on the break. He just clipped the back of him, didn't get booked for it, but just ran away. It's nice to see the fact that we know we can be quite calm when 2-0 up, because previously we would have crumbled, wouldn't we? And against Charlton, I know Amtara makes a bad mistake, but as Kurt said, if he doesn't make the mistake, we win the game 2-0 and it becomes an even more impressive victory. But yes, we've invited pressure, but them only having one shot on target in that second half just kind of, like I said, emphasises how well we defend. Husband did really well Saturday. Coulson tonight. The Gabriel we've complimented is way above League One when fit. But the defence, bear in mind, we've got Baggett to come back. Afire and Casey, for me, are one of the best two centre-back partnerships in this league, because I just feel safe as houses with those two at the back. And the Afire, obviously, we spoke about previous pod, but as a back four, we've got options, and we've got probably a good chance of being quite consistent with the goalkeeper as well.
Yeah, and going back to the old S-housery thing, you need to look after yourself on the pitch, don't you? At every level of football, but in League One, you need to look after yourselves. You need to look after each other. And how many times you see teams that come to Bloomfield Road and they've got one or two. I remember Port Vale last season got that. We were warned about the centre back, weren't we? Is it? You'll know him, Tom. I've forgotten his name. The Port Vale centre back that was picked out as being an absolute shithouse before we even played them in the preview pod. And you're absolutely right. You need people like that. And every good Blackpool side that's ever won promotion has always had at least one or two of those. I look back at when I first started watching under Billy A, you had Gary Briggs and people like that who wouldn't take any crap off anyone. And then we had Andy Morrison in the Allardyce era. And then, you know, Keegan Parker was a different type of player, but he was always a flea in the referee's ear and being a bit of a knobhead and winding people up. You need players like that. Every team needs one. Every good era of a football club needs people who won't take any shit off people. And we're not here to be bullied. And Steve Bruce has been there and done it, and he won't let them be bullied. Whereas I think Critch was sort of, oh, don't go upsetting anybody. You know, and we always say, don't we, that the football team is built in the image of the manager. And last season, Critchley Mark II, our team was, well, go on then, you know, like after you sort of thing. And it was far too inviting and far too nice and far too accommodating for people. But now we're like, no, we're not having this. And we get 2-0 up and it's like, yeah, it's your home game, lads, come and score. We'll do everything we can to disrupt you. And you're right. I mean, I watched the Charlton game afterwards because I was out, but I watched it and the Charlton fans totally exaggerated it. They were trying to cover up their own team's deficiencies and they were a strange bunch. I've never heard a group of fans whinge quite so much as that. I mean, even the next day they were still incredibly salty on social media, weren't they? But I love it. I absolutely love it. It shows a bit of pride. It shows you want to win. You know, I'm not here to watch my team get rolled over by mugs. I want us to see us, you know, stick it up them from time to time, and that's what we're doing. It's great. It's brilliant. You can't win. You can't win those 2 away games without having that in you. You just can't. You can't be too nice at Charlton and especially Huddersfield on a Tuesday night. You've got to be. You've got to have something about you to win there, a bit of spine about you.
Yeah, he said overall his man of the match was Joseph for the running, but Casey was monstrous tonight. Yeah, completely agree. He said it after the Charlton game. He's probably my first starter now, Kurt. We already said it. We want to see him last season, didn't we? But in a back four, he's an absolute monster, and he doesn't. To use Martin's word, is very economical, isn't he? He makes the right decisions at the right times, and you know he's very dominant in the air, but also can play the ball at his feet as well. So excellent performance. Paola said Casey, CJ, or a 5 for me. God, Paola saying CJ man of the match. You must have had a couple of beers tonight. I'm joking. The 2 centre halves look solid and never look like losing the aerial battle. The good news is, like we've said, Kurt, if one of them needs to take a break and Baggett comes back, you know, Husband can go there as well. Pennington can play centre back. He did in the back four for Shrewsbury and won man of the or player of the season for 2 years running. So we do have options there. We can mix it up, especially for cup games as well. We can rest and be resourceful as well. Hoggy saying Huddersfield fans will be moaning and saying the same as Charlton fans. Next will be Burton fans and then Lincoln fans. Long may it continue. Absolutely. I will say Huddersfield must have listened to Charlton fans on social media because Anthony Evans went down for about 5 minutes tonight. And then I think Evans went down for about 30 seconds and they booed him relentlessly. And I was like, how hypocritical can you be? Either way, it's good to see, as we've said. George said stinks of Blackpool 2-0 Burton.
Going back to Charlton fans, Tom, I honestly have never had such a pleasant experience getting a train out of a away ground than leaving Charlton Station. Honestly, you know, there's a couple of things that make me horny, and moaning home fans when you've won like that. Honestly, it was the best. I didn't even have to say anything. They were going, "Oh, that bloody number 4 falling over," and I was just there like, "Yeah, he was terrible, wasn't he? That's really bad of him to be doing that all game." So, yeah, look, the thing about Charlton, you know, closing them off, I'd have been more worried about the fact that the ball was in the air for 90% of the time they touched it, and didn't play a single bit of football when they had players like Campbell on the pitch, Berry on the pitch. I'd be fuming if I watched that standard of football from a team that had been in the Premier League for the length of time they've been here. Playing like that, you're joking. You got absolutely destroyed by us. You're lucky it was only 2-0. It could have been about 6. So, you know, that train journey back will live long in the memory of just sitting there in silence and just listening to all the moaning. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. Well, look, we Martin, didn't we say when Bruce got put in charge that we read that terrible stat that Newcastle fans obsessed over, that you know he hasn't won 3 games in a row for 14 years, and he's done it at the first time of trying, but he's done it by being, I think, very balanced. I think he's very exciting when we listen to him. You know, I sit and listen to Bruce, and one because of who he is, and one, you know, he's our Blackpool manager. I like to give them time, but eventually, like Kurt said, he didn't listen to one post-match presser from Critch last campaign because we lost interest in the repetitive nature of him, and he's always got something really good to say. And I like the fact that he said Huddersfield should be worried if we can play the way we do. so on and so forth. But at the end of games, he's standing back, he's allowing the players to take the plaudits on, and he just gives a different level of, well, just he's heightened Blackpool in terms of being a football club for his namesake, but he's also backing it up on the pitch, isn't he? And League One isn't a ridiculously tough league, but it is a hard league full of, experienced League One sides, which make it difficult. And obviously big money spenders this campaign with the likes of Birmingham in there. So there's going to be some difficult afternoons, but if we continue in the same way that he wants to continue and he signs well in January, there's absolutely no reason why we can't continue this journey, because we've seen nothing this season that we need to be scared of, have we? And just sort of finish off the pod with what you believe sort of Bruce has brought in his first sort of 3 or 4 games.
I just can't believe that it's 3 weeks ago since we appointed him, and I was sat in my car because I couldn't get an internet signal, and we were kind of all shocked and stunned and couldn't quite believe it was our manager. We said it could go one of two. It still could, because it's 3 or 4, it's 3 games in, but he simplified it for me. He's totally simplified it. And also, he's also dispelled this myth that, if you're over 60, you're a football dinosaur somehow. Because if that's a football dinosaur, then I don't know what we can call what we saw before he took over, or before his predecessor left, because they are a high energy, exciting team. That's not dinosaur football, is it? I think we have to remember that Steve Bruce, he hasn't managed in League One apart from 6 games with Wigan because he's never had to. Because he'd always been in the Championship or the Premier League. So you've got to give somebody respect who's handled that longevity. And he's just a very good, calm, footballing man who's got lots of experience. And you know what? He doesn't need the money either, does he? He's here because he loves football. That's a massive difference, that. There are too many managers, we accuse players of it. Managers are knocking around, going from club to club, picking up compo and picking up wages. He's very comfortable and has been for a long, long time, just loves football. And I just think he's kept it simple. He's identified where the issues were, and he seems, with a little bit of help from his staff, has just tweaked it and just put a smile on all our faces. So I'm it looks like a genius at the moment. It looks like a stroke of genius from the board, doesn't it? It really does look a left field appointment that no one saw coming. And at the moment it looks, well, obviously, Steve Bruce is still a really good manager. That's what it looks like. It could all go wrong. Of course it could, because we've got 2 home games coming up and massive test as Kurt mentality, because we've had 2 games that we don't expect to win. So how will we be with the expectation on us having to back up? Because if we win those 2 games, that'll be 5 in a row, and we don't normally do that. So I'm just enjoying watching Blackpool again, Tom. I really am just enjoying watching Blackpool and being proud of that team, and just looking forward to games rather than, as Kurt said, especially Kurt, you've come such a long way to watch the games, and it's a chore, isn't it? When it's boring and it's god awful, it's you have some crack with your mates and stuff, but you don't want to come all that way to watch crap football. So I don't want to go 3 miles to watch it.
What was a particular delight from last season?
Cheltenham for me, Kurt. Cheltenham for me. These 2 away games are for everyone that went to Cheltenham and had to suffer that crap. And Port Vale and Burton and all the others. So yeah, it's just really good. It's really good.
You just literally said Kurt has a crack with his mates. That's a bit of a wild accusation, isn't it? Probably needed it last campaign, to be fair.
Well, if his mates have a crack, it's
Kurt, I'll let you have the floor for what you thought Bruce has obviously brought since he's come in as well, just before we end the pod. But I forgot to say, and I've missed it off tonight's pod, thank you, Albie Morgan, or whatever your full name is, because you've come back from an injury. And you've played two 90 minutes and obviously 60 odd minutes in the cup as well. And he's done an absolutely superb job in that middle of that park. We praise Evans, but I think he generally has been someone that I want to see start now. And between him and Norburn, it's going to be a difficult battle because they complement Evans really well. And I think when Evans needs a rest, Morgan can do more of his job and Norberg can come in. So again, we've got options there. We still need to sign, I think, as a midfielder, but personally, I just want to say thank you. And I think if it wasn't for him, we don't win those games, of course. Winner at Charlton and his relentless work tonight as well. So still running in the 90th minute. A has just said, so refreshing seeing the manager let the players take the applause and just getting on with it. Long may it continue. Yeah, Kurt, just over an hour, mate. Just give your feelings on what Bruce has brought after back-to-back wins.
He's just brought, I know it sounds really pathetic and maybe a bit emotional, he's just brought Blackpool back. I know Like it's been fun watching Blackpool. I remember one of my favourite ever away games was. Do you remember we beat Watford? Was it 4-3 away from home? And that was
Alan
just
Gow
Alan Gow.
Yeah.
Like it was just about
in the
following us
rain.
away and just enjoying watching football. And you know, football for me is about moments and scoring goals. You know, and sometimes you lose and sometimes you win. But if the lads have given it a go, I watched best part of 25, 30, 25 odd games last season, and bar Portsmouth, I didn't really feel like we had a go at teams. We wanted to excite the fans, and that's what this team is doing at the minute. And obviously it's only 3 or 4 games in or 5 games in since he left, but that's what I've seen, and that's why I said about the Cambridge thing. Like, look, trust me, some of these individual silly mistakes that can get cut out, these lads are going to build. We can score goals, we can excite teams. We'll slap someone at some point. We'll give someone a good 5 or 6-0 hiding because it'll click with Ballard. He'll get a couple. We'll give someone the right tonking. That'll come. But the minute we're just winning, and just that winning's a habit. Steve Bruce knows what that looks like. He knows how to get promoted. He's got teams promoted out of the Championship. He knows what habits like, and that's. I didn't expect it to be this soon, but let's just see how we get on Saturday. We win again. Just win again. Just win again. Just win again, and just keep trying to score goals. And that just keep trying to score goals. If you're trying to score 3-4 goals a game, and then shutting them out the other end, you're just going to continuously get wins. And there will be moments where you have to dig deep and we maybe lose a couple, but this is a team that the fans can get behind. We didn't have that, and it's so much more exciting watching Blackpool where it's like this and the fans are getting behind them. Even if there's 500-600 on a Tuesday night in Peterborough, for example, they'll get behind them, and that's the joys of watching Blackpool Football Club. So he's brought a bit of joy back. Hopefully it's not short-lived, and hopefully we can carry it on at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. We said, Martin, didn't we, that his consistent message to each club is making a team proud to play for their club and make the town proud of them as well. And he's certainly doing that thus far with the management team as well. But gentlemen, I'm going to call it a pod. It was a Huddersfield Charlton review, but we're just going to reflect on tonight and a little bit of Charlton, of course. But long live the shithousery of Blackpool Football Club and Steve Bruce, and long may the winning continue. Martin, it's been a pleasure. We'll be back on Thursday, I believe, to preview Burton and give you an insight to the opposition, of course. As always, thank you for coming on tonight, mate.
Cheers, brilliant, and hope all Seasiders have a great night or whenever you're listening or watching this. And I just really hope as well that some of the floating fans might come Saturday. We get like a sub 10,000 crowd, because the players and the manager deserve it. I know football's expensive, we all know that, but I really hope that the fans, we're rubbing an R and can see that they're building something and get behind it, and we can get blue. It'll be a rocket anyway, but we've got to have a fire in there.
I absolutely agree. Kurt, thanks again for coming on, buddy. I know this is probably the latest pod we've ever done, other than Holloway, who was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, my bedtime was about an hour ago, so I'll have to shoot off sharpish. But yeah, looking forward to Saturday. I'm able to drink because I'm not driving, so I'll be starting early, and hopefully the North's rocking and we get behind them and we get another 3 points, and just carry on, because this momentum is nice to have. So yeah, happy days.
There is nearly 500 of you watching right now. Please do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, help us grow, and help us grow these live shows as well. But from all of us at the It's Not Orange podcast, we'll see you soon.